Thank you very much. Senator Barrasso.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Congresswoman Stefanik, congratulations. I believe you're going to be terrific. A couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. Israel has continually been subjected to biased resolutions and politically motivated investigations at the United Nations. The UN so-called Human Rights Council has a standing agenda item, and that standing agenda item is called item number 7, and it exclusively targets Israel. It makes it the only member of the UN, the only member state singled out in this manner. The Council consistently devotes excessive time, I think time at all is excessive, in criticizing Israel while often overlooking the atrocities in countries like Iran, like Syria. 2024 alone, the UN General Assembly adopted 17 different resolutions against Israel, compared to only 6 against the whole rest of the world. I mean, it's astonishing that this is going on in the UN. So what are your views on item 7, and what steps would you think to do in terms of removal of this from the permanent agenda?
We need to work to remove it from the permanent agenda. This is counter to our national security interests. It's counter to our values. And this is emblematic of the anti-Semitic rot that is pervasive within the UN system. I'm a big believer in transparency. We saw over the course of exposing, frankly, the failed leadership at college campuses, the importance of providing a spotlight when there is a lack of moral clarity, because the American people strongly support the U.S.-Israel relationship. They understand the moral case and the importance of Israel and how we should not be funding or supporting or giving any platform, frankly, like this standing agenda item.
Are there things you have in mind in terms of how we can pay greater attention to the true human rights situations that are taking place in Iran, in Syria, and have the UN be forceful at all?
Yes, we should have, when previous U.S. ambassadors chaired the Security Council for their month, human rights was on the agenda item. I want to make sure that that continues to be a priority, speaking out on human rights issues, which there is significant bipartisan records of both sides of the aisle coming together to really raise the awareness and speak with that moral leadership from the United States of America on these humanitarian crises and speaking up for human rights.
You've answered a number of questions about China. And today, and this is a question I want to ask you. I asked the same question to Senator Rubio the other day, because I think China continues to have an unfair advantage due to the definition of China being the status listed as a developing nation, as opposed to the second largest economy in the world. To me, it's not a developing nation, which has huge advantages as a result of that in terms of funding and ability to borrow money and others in the world stage. So do you believe that China is a, quote, developing nation, and what's your plan to ensure that China is no longer able to exploit what I believe is an inaccurate label currently at the UN?
No, and they have exploited not only that inaccurate label, but they are the greatest perpetrators of intellectual property theft. They are the most significant national security challenge. I think generationally, this will be the greatest challenge that my generation faces. And I think that we have an opportunity, because if you look at the bipartisan focus and concern on ensuring that we not only meet this challenge, but that our values, we continue to strengthen our partnerships and allies around the globe, I think we have an opportunity to deliver real bipartisan results in this space.
Great. You, I think, used the words accountability, transparency. I know that's the way you acted in Congress, and we'll do in this. The U.S. contributes, 22% of the UN total budget right now. How are you going to ensure that that financial burden at the UN are actually shared more equitably in accordance with current economic realities?
Well, first of all, working directly with members of the House and the Senate, with our oversight members and specifically the appropriators, is very important. I think, as I discussed, doing an assessment of all of our funds, ensuring that we're being good stewards of U.S. taxpayer dollars, that we're looking at results-based entities within the UN system, organizations that support American interest, America first, peace through strength, and working with our national security team to do so. I want to provide this committee with full transparency about where every dollar is going within the UN system, which, frankly, this committee has not gotten before, and we deserve that as good stewards of U.S. taxpayer dollars.
I believe I one time heard you say, we are the nation of the United States, not the United Nations. And how are you going to preserve and protect American sovereignty within the UN?
I deeply support American sovereignty, and I know that I'm going there to be, if confirmed, the ambassador of the United States to the United Nations and not the other way around, and I will always stand up for American values.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Barrasso. Senator Lee, thank you for joining.